What's up, guys? Fico here, and I'm here to do a little rant about a bit of news that I've just heard. And I've heard that SuperBot Entertainment, or SuperBot Games, I'm not quite sure what the name of the company is, has just severed ties with Sony, and they're no longer going to be working for Sony, which means no Super Smash Brothers Sony version Part 2. At least, I mean, it's confirmed. I mean, I think that's what it means. I mean, it couldn't mean anything else. As you all know, Sony PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale, a game that came out not too long ago, is basically Super Smash Brothers with Sony characters. And I've got a little rant. I had a little rant planned about that, but this time I plan on ranting a little bit about Sony. Now, Sony did a lot to make sure that this game was successful. They even took Seth Killian, which is supposed to be some kind of fighting game ambassador or something. It was like a special advisor. Seth Killian is this guy who is in the fighting game industry, who, you know, really knows his stuff about fighting games. He was also a commentator on Evo. He loves the fighting game scene. So they brought him in specifically so that this game would be successful. And as far as I know, it's a moderate game, and I mean, they tried so hard to separate themselves from Super Smash Brothers, to make it so that the game is not Super Smash Brothers. But no, it is not. It is Super Smash Brothers with Sony characters, with Sony stages, except the only thing that is different, in my opinion, would be the characters that they use, which were not magnificent. They weren't even standout-ish. I mean, they have Raiden because they couldn't have Solid Snake, because they blew that deal when they let Solid Snake end up in Smash Brothers. They had a bunch of characters like Fat Princess and the redheaded chick from Heavenly Sword, who I don't even know her name because that's how important she is. They even have the Big Daddy from BioShock, who isn't a Sony character because he is in every single platform. It's like they went to say, it's like they created the game thinking they just wanted to get a Super Smash Brothers game as done as fast as possible, and and they just sat down and said, let's do it. I was like, oh no, we're gonna do it right now. And it's like not even a week or two to think about it. And let me tell you something, and it shows, because I mean, the only difference between those two is because you had to basically build up a meter, and you can gather attacks, different type of attacks, and it's just, I mean, that's the way you gain points, and that's okay. I mean, but if you think about it, really, that's pretty much it. I mean, I played the demo, I saw the game in action, and I have to say, for a Super Smash Brothers clone, it wasn't half bad. But then, upon hearing that they cut ties with SuperBot, you know, the guys that created this game, apparently they just said, you know what, you guys did it, but the game's not selling well. There's the door. Right there. Don't let it hit you on the way out. See, that is what gets me about Sony. See, Sony bothered me with this project for two reasons. The one that I talked about just a moment ago, basically creating a Super Smash Brothers clone, pretty much shows me that Sony is not an innovator. Sony just follows the tides and creates games that are supposed to be better than Nintendo games. You know, the ones that, I mean, apparently you know, like the epic games, you know, like none of the character games that Sony has created, like Ratchet and Clank, Jak and Daxter, have been spectacular. I mean, yeah, sure, they've been good games, but you kind of see what I'm trying to say is that the games don't, they just don't build up, they just don't, the finishing result is just not what it is. You know, they promise that the game's amazing, but it's not. And they make it seem as though it's sort of like the game that you've got to play as, but it isn't. Crash Bandicoot was never going to be better than any of the 3D Mario games, but Sony kept trying, but then they just gave up. They didn't even put Crash Bandicoot as a character in their Super Smash Bros. Clone, and that goes to show you. I mean, it's like Sony, sure, they care about you when you're, you know, successful or not, but you know, the first game in the franchise, first Battle Royale game, and all of a sudden they cut ties. They're still gonna do DLC? No, I'm kidding. No, Santa Monica Studios is going to be, and that's the studio that's doing the God of War games. So of course, I mean, now they gotta take people where they can find them, and SuperBot's left without a publisher. And that's the thing that bothers me about Sony. All they care about is money. They don't care about the gamers. When the outage came, they didn't care. When they claimed that they were stealing things from people with that hack, they didn't care. They didn't even care enough to tell you about it. And all of a sudden now, getting rid of SuperBot for not selling a game that much. You know, I know it's their business and I know it's ultimately about money, but let's be honest. I mean, they were so high and mighty when they created, you know, Super Smash Bros. For Sony, and all of a sudden now they knew that the game just wasn't what it was supposed to be. It was just a clone, and not a lot of people dug it because it was a subpar clone. You know, they brought a rivalry thing and it didn't matter because the story just didn't have any story. It was just a mashup. And not to say that Brawl had a story, but at least it tried. It tries to give you nostalgia, tries to give fans of Nintendo something to just grasp. But this was just such a sloppy attempt to get, you know, Super Smash Bros. Into the Sony console. So they just took half-assed characters or characters that didn't matter as much and put them with some other really good characters like Jak and Daxter, Ratchet and Clank, and then just tell them go to town and whatever. The game was okay, and I never actually thought of getting it at all because yeah, even after I played it and I played with all the characters that were including the Big Daddy and all, I did see that it was fun, but I still think no, they could have done so much better, and it kind of feels like they could have added more characters. They could have taken other Sony exclusive, you know, franchises and put characters in. And I'm hard pressed to think that after all the Final Fantasy games that have been only for the PlayStation, I hate to think that they didn't even try to contact somebody like from Square Enix or any other company that has only done Sony PlayStation games and tell them, could we do an agreement and add the characters here? I mean, if they didn't, then they're stupid. But anyway, sorry for SuperBot, but I'm sure you guys are gonna be okay. I mean, you guys did a well-known game at least, and you know, at least, you know, you can always go to Nintendo. Maybe they'll teach you how it's done. Maybe you can all share and do stuff that, you know, makes good. I mean, if Nintendo and the studio that does the, you know, the Smash Brothers game need help, hey, go there. So I'm sure that they wouldn't mind, and it'll spit Sony in the face too. So, but anyway, that was just like my little rant. I didn't want to get it over too much. Well, hope you guys like the video, and tell me what you guys think about Sony getting rid of SuperBot so quickly after this one game. So, well, take care, guys, and I know Dead Space comes out tonight, so I do hope to get that game done in the next few days and give you guys my impression. So, Peace out, dudes.